Welcome everybody, it's the R.O.T.N Oddcast. I'm Famine.
I'm Professor White Heat. So for this episode, we chose to talk about the comic book
Nightclub.
Written by Mark Millar with art by Juan Ramirez.
I believe that's how we say it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Never met him.
It's about three friends who want a little bit more excitement in their lives. One tries to do a social media stunt, ends up in a hospital where he gets bit by a vampire detective. That kid then bites his friends, so they all become vampires and form a superhero team, fighting crime and getting views and likes.
Speaking of creatures in the night, let's go to our first song, which is by Soviet Sex with their song Walpurgis Night from 1984.
That brings us to the topic, which is
Night.
So we'll discuss nerd culture, media, and music dealing with the night. But to shorten the episode, we're going to exclude things like night spelled with a K, midnight, as well as nightmare. Maybe in an upcoming episode, we might have a part 2 to this, or maybe an episode dedicated
part
to
2 and 3, because there's a lot
maybe
of
I
nights
know,
there.
or maybe an episode dedicated to just nightmare, because I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street is an entire door to open into the
We will all walk
dream-
through it someday.
yeah,
to that
dream
world.
yeah.
We will all become dream warriors.
Exactly.
But not tonight.
Exactly.
Okay, let's start it off with movies. Again, to condense this episode, we decided to keep it to titles that have Night of the in it. The first movie we're going to talk about is the story of the left hand and the right hand, the story of the love and the hate. Night of the Hunter, starring Robert Mitchum, 1955. Now, this is actually the only movie that's not a horror movie that we're going to talk about today.
We had to mention it though. It's so iconic and important. I don't know if anybody knows Spike Lee's movie Do the Right Thing. He had a character named Radio Raheem that had two gold rings that said love and hate, and he told the story of love and hate. And then Spike Lee said that that was an homage to Night of the Hunter,
which has Robert Mitchum has tattoos of love and hate on his knuckles. So the next on the list is probably one of the most important horror movies ever made. It's called Night of the Living Dead. If you haven't watched it by now, you obviously don't like movies.
Don't say that.
It's true. My
maybe.
goodness, it's up there. It's
Classic.
like you need to watch it. Should be showed at schools.
I agree.
It completely invented a whole genre of movies.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah, you know, my life wouldn't be the same without survival horror.
Exactly.
I just don't think it would be. Yeah, that's really what that movie is, and it makes it a very like intense thriller.
Right.
But then at the other hand, it's like gore. Like it's like
Yeah.
terrifying gore. Like
The scene where they look up
human
and
eating human flesh and
the skull on the top of the stairs.
yeah, it's
Classic. And then it's like a kind of social commentary, right?
I mean, the fact that the main character is like a black man, like
Right.
saving a hysterical white woman
Right,
the whole time.
true.
Yeah, it's for 1968. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But what do we have next? Night of the Bloody Apes.
Love
My goodness, what a crazy movie.
It's good.
I should we like I don't know how to talk about this. It's like about taking an ape heart and putting it into a man to
Yep.
save him from cancer.
From leukemia.
From leukemia,
Yeah.
and then he becomes like a psychotic rapist. Murderer.
Yeah. Exactly.
When they say bloody apes, they're not kidding. It's pretty gory.
It's gory, yeah.
and it's
The eye
pretty-
gouging scene, he like takes his
It
thumb
is.
and knocks out the guy's eye. Decapitates a person by ripping his head off. It's amazing. It's great.
Yes.
Mexican horror movies dealing with like wrestling and
Oh yeah, there's a wrestling element. Like,
and
there has
raping.
to be. There
Yeah.
has to be a wrestling element.
I like how it starts off and like the female wrestler looks like a red Catwoman.
That's
It's
pretty,
amazing.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
You know, red's my favorite color, and I love
Exactly.
Catwoman. So a red Catwoman.
combine
who
those and you got
wrestles,
a deal.
Fighting a gorilla man that's gonna rip your face off. Whoa. And then we have another ridiculous movie I can't even believe exists. It's called Night of the Lepus.
Lepus, yeah.
Night of the Lepus. Okay, so I watched the trailer for this movie, and in the trailer that I watched, they didn't really explain to you what the Lepus was.
They had to keep it hidden.
And I don't know if we should tell people about it, but it's a kind of an unexpected villain for a monster movie.
Then after that, we had Night of the Zombies, aka Hell of the Living Dead from 1980, an Italian horror zombie movie. You can't go wrong. You know there's going to be a great soundtrack, right?
Yeah, probably. It's
Amazing.
in Italy.
And then we have Night of the Demon, starting off from 1957. And then, of course, Night of the Demon from 1980, which is not what you think. It's not Night of the Demons, which we'll get into in just a second. Night of the Demon is actually about
Outrageous.
Bigfoot.
It's about Sasquatch.
And it's got
And he is vengeful.
amazing. It's got some of the best low budget kills ever.
His
There's a scene where he like swings a guy in a sleeping bag and he like throws him against a tree and he gets stabbed.
They kind of ripped that off in
Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
There was
critique
another
of that.
scene about what was the movie? There was another really good sleeping bag scene. I think it was about mutated bear. What was that movie about the mutated bear?
Shoot, I forgot the name. I'm sorry.
Fuck.
I wasn't
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
watched it.
There's
we
a-
watched it
the
together.
Prophecy.
Prophecy.
The
yeah.
Prophecy.
Yeah, because like the title doesn't have anything to do with
like a
the
mutated
big
bear. And then yes, Night of the Demons, 1988 actually. Night of the Demons, 1988. Great soundtrack. We got Bauhaus in there. It's about a goth girl who throws a party, invites her friends, but they throw a seance that conjures up a demon that like gets into Linnea Quigley's body and possesses her, and then she possesses everybody else.
For the uninitiated, who is that exactly?
Linnea Quigley was also in a small movie that's called Return of the Living Dead. And then we have Night of the Demons 2 from 1994. Still really good. Kind of a continuation of it in a sense. Not really, but it's really good. And then we have Night of the Demons 3 from 1997. Again, not really pertaining to it, but a kind of continuation of it in a sense. Then my favorite, Night of the Comet from 1984. It's about a bunch of Valley Girls, end of the world, mutated people who survive. I guess if you were like under the rock when if you had shelter when the comet hit, you didn't die. But if you were semi-exposed, you turned into like mutated
Zombies.
characters. Yeah, like zombies. Best line. I'm not crazy. I just don't give a fuck. Best line of the movie.
I think we've all been there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I use that all the time. But yeah, Night of the Comet, check it out. Great soundtrack, very 80s.
And it's got Chakotay from Star Trek Voyager.
Bringing it back to nerd culture. Let's get into our second song, which is The End of Electronics with Night.
Новомодные шнурки, классный макияж, подстриженная челка. Я готов есть с руки. Блюдо наслаждения и горький плод любви, странные слова режут и лезут вон из-под кожи. Ты, как всегда, права. Скорее всего, уже похоже. Ночь, и мы грустим, приводит одного, уходит с другим. Ночь, и мы грустим в ночь. Ночь, и мы грустим, приводит одного, уходит с другим. Ночь, и мы грустим в ночь. Мне хорошо с тобой. Не беда, что в дверь стучат соседи. Я расскажу пароль в обмен на свободу, в обмен на мучение. Неразделимая страсть с темной помадой, с легкой походкой. В твоих руках моя власть в ярко-розовой обертке. Ночь, и мы грустим, приводит одного, уходит с другим. Ночь, и мы грустим в ночь. Ночь, и мы грустим, приводит одного, уходит с другим. Ночь, и мы грустим в ночь. Похотливая модель, главное лицо сортира скотобойни. Я сниму ночной отель, и ко всему отнесешься спокойно. Ты принимаешь меня прямо в объятия приятными словами. Я не боюсь ремня в комплекте с твоими сочными губами. Ночь, и мы грустим, приводит одного, уходит с другим. Ночь, и мы грустим в ночь. Ночь, и мы грустим, приводит одного, уходит с другим. Ночь, и мы грустим в ночь. Ночь, 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 и мы грустим, приводит одного, уходит с другим. Ночь, 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 и мы грустим в ночь. Ночь, 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 и мы грустим, приводит одного, уходит с другим. Ночь, 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 и мы грустим в ночь.
Let's get into some TV shows. There was Kolchak, the Night Stalker from 1974.
Hit us on that.
It had the dad from Christmas Story, and he like was an investigator that would look into supernatural, the occult and supernatural.
It's kind of like X-Files before X-Files.
It was very similar to X-Files.
Although there was no Mulder, but
yeah,
or no
well, it
Scully.
was Kolchak.
Yeah.
Kolchak was the
Was Mulder.
There was
There was no
Mulder.
Scully.
There was supposed to be a comic that came out. There was a
Really?
Kickstarter. Not that
Well, there was a
long ago.
movie. It spawned a movie as well.
I see.
Yes.
Yes. Well, anyways.
Anywho.
Moving right along, my favorite thing that we're going to be talking about today, besides maybe the toys, but today, right now, dude, it's all about Night Court.
Night Court. Love
I
Night
cannot
Court.
get me enough Night Court. Night Court is so funny because of all of the weird characters. But my favorite color, as a child, I used to watch the show. My favorite was Bull.
Bull was Richard Mole.
Richard Mole as Bull,
Fantastic.
fantastic.
I loved Harry. He had
Harry
two
was the
things:
judge.
magic and who was his favorite singer of all time?
The Velvet Fog.
Yeah,
Mel Torme.
Mel Torme.
Yep.
And then it had what's his name?
John Larroquette.
John Larroquette. That was in a movie of Tales from the Crypt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, of
Amazing.
course.
Yeah, loved it.
And John Larroquette was in Star Trek 3.
Amazing.
More Star Trek for you.
Hey, we all got to tie to nerd culture. Right?
Yeah. Next is Saturday Night Live.
Can't go wrong. Amazing.
Well,
it's going on forever.
It's
right?
been on TV a long time, and I would say that there was a lot of funny things that I've seen on Saturday Night Live over the years.
Some of the best.
And there's too many to like get into here right now.
Who is your favorite cast member?
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman is my favorite person.
Caveman.
Caveman lawyer.
The best is that when he plays Clinton and he's like at McDonald's or something. One of my favorite cast members, Janine Garofalo, great. Yeah. Wasn't Juliette Louis-Dreyfus was a member of Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, so was
very short brief.
So was Robert Downey Jr.
Amazing.
And Anthony Michael Hall.
Loved Anthony Michael
Hall, but they weren't that great. That was
like who is your favorite guest of Saturday Night Live?
My favorite guest on Saturday Night Live.
Out of all the hosts, the guests, who's your favorite?
Dude, there's a lot of people that were the hosts of Saturday Night Live.
Christopher Walken, amazing. One of my fave is Christopher Walken's appearance on SNL. He did a lot. They even made an entire DVD of Christopher Walken on SNL.
That's cool.
Amazing.
Oh, you know who's one of the worst? Is Patrick Stewart.
Really?
He was terrible. He wasn't funny at all. It was stupid.
I love Patrick Stewart.
So do I. Oh, of course I do. Shoot. I was like...
Did they do a Star Trek parody?
Of course they did.
Okay.
No, you know what? I take it back, dude. The funniest person who ever was on Saturday Night Live was Shatner, dude.
Shatner.
That Shatner episode
The classic with Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi.
No. This was in the 80s. The late 80s. And
you know what I'm talking about.
I know that was like a skit.
Yeah.
That was a skit. But this was Shatner is the host.
Okay.
And he's playing himself at the Star Trek convention.
Amazing.
And he is just reading all of the nerds, just telling them how lame they are. And
That's amazing.
It's John Lovitz and Kevin Nealon. They're all nerds. At the it's so good.
Amazing.
He tells them to grow up and move out of their parents' basement. And,
I love it.
Yeah, Shatner.
Who is your favorite musical guest on SNL?
These are very hard questions.
You know the most iconic moment. I mean, there's a lot, but Sinead O'Connor.
Oh yes, that was very
that
was very infamous.
That was
very
on
infamous
SNL.
Moment. Yeah.
My favorite was there was this whole thing on SNL where where it was the Beastie Boys performed Sabotage,
yes. It was great.
And then they stopped the episode so
they can play with Elvis Costello.
Elvis Costello.
And they play an Elvis Costello song.
Because Elvis Costello...
I think it's Pump It Up.
Lorne Michaels said, if you play this song, we're going to ban you from SNL forever. Because it wasn't the song that was appropriate at the time.
It was,
It was Radio.
Yeah.
Because that was inappropriate.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was.
And so when Beastie Boys came on to do Sabotage, they played it about maybe halfway song. And they're like, stop. And then, what's his name comes out, and they do Radio.
Yep.
Amazing. That was one of the best performances there. And then after Saturday Night Live, we have
Up All Night with Rhonda Shear
or Gilbert Gottfried. I love Gilbert Gottfried.
I love Rhonda Shear.
They were both great. Yeah.
If you were a kid in the late 80s, early 90s, that was the best thing to watch on Saturday night.
It was before Mystery Science Theater 3000, I saw all the really bad B movies on Up All Night.
Yep.
It was amazing. And I would literally stay up to watch that because it was a cross between really bad horror movies and really bad softcore porn, you know what I mean?
Because I remember that was what the appeal was, that it was R-rated, steamy, stuff you shouldn't be watching, you know. Yeah.
It was amazing. I loved Up All Night. What about Night Flight?
Wasn't Night Flight related to Up All Night? Wasn't it
it's kind of in the same thing. They were both on USA.
Yeah.
But Night Flight kind of showed more artsy, obscure shorts and music.
And weird stuff.
Weird stuff.
Yeah. Weird stuff.
Weird stuff art related. Really good. It's still going on today. Night Flight is now social media based, but still keeping it real after all this time. Check out Night Flight. You have something to your right.
Oh, yes.
What about
We're talking about
Nightman.
mediocre at best superhero characters.
Right
Here's
there.
a guy right here. His name is Nightman. He comes with this cool grappling hook, and if you're wondering, hey man, are you just trying to be like Batman? Kind of. Nightman.
A 90s
TV show.
really bad
TV
version
show.
of Batman.
That
yeah.
was also on USA.
Exactly, yes. They had all the best. Didn't they have like Black Scorpion? Remember Black Scorpion was like the same thing as Nightman, but a female version? Speaking of Nightman, there was a good Nightman from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Remember Nightman? They did a song Nightman with Charlie. Speaking of sun, of It's Always Sunny, let's get into our next track, which is Night Is Mine by Ultra Sun.
Again, you tried to get me in the middle of the street, shouting on a woman after a man. Is it all you leave behind you? Is it all you wanna say? Is it all you leave behind you? Is it all you wanna say? Your words like snakes that disavow the evening curtain. I would never ask to cross your masked face of dirt, and you found your own way of crying, saying that you're lost. Does it fix you? Does it comfort you? Is it all you leave behind you? Is it all you wanna say? Is it all you leave behind you? Is it all you wanna say? You see me disappear in a vibrant light, vanished before you stopped any fight. Anyways, I'm fine, because the night is mine. Is it all you leave behind you? Is it all you wanna say? Is it all you leave behind you? Is it all you wanna say?
let's talk about comic books with night in the title. First and foremost, 30 Days of Night, which also was a movie, but we're going to talk about the comic book.
Oh, yeah, wait a minute. We talked about movies, but we're talking about the comic book.
Well,
we
it was a
talk
tie-in.
All right.
30 Days of Night.
I think I kind of like the movie more than I like the comic book.
Well,
honestly.
because movies, we talked about
We
everything with Night of the.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And actually, I like the artwork. Ben Templesmith, Steve Niles was the writer. It was good. I liked it. On IDW. IDW always puts on great comics. Speaking of IDW, the next one is Night Owl Society on IDW. And it was about like this kid who wants to defunk his father, who's like the head of a mob. And he gets a whole bunch of like outcasts together to infiltrate this kind of mob boss, but he comes to find out that it's his father. Anyways, yeah, Night Owl Society, check it out. And then after that, one of my favorite DC story arcs ever is Blackest Night.
And what is that about?
Blackest Night is if all the dead characters in the DC universe came back with a Black Lantern ring and became Black Lanterns. It was amazing.
It was a visual smorgasbord of zombie, superhero, supervillain action.
All
it was
these-
one of the best things ever.
I agree. It was
like-
amazing.
It was genius.
And it was all started with
Black Hand,
Black
who was
Hand.
like a classic Green Lantern villain.
Villain.
Yes, like who'd been around since like the 60s.
And he ends up like killing himself in front of like his family, I think. And then he gets back to life with the Black Lantern ring, and he starts the Black Lantern Corps. And the cool thing about it is they bring back all these really weird, obscure characters that they killed off.
Yep.
And they all came back as zombies. It's fantastic. And they even have like the big Justice League characters that become zombies as well.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The visually speaking, like just like the look of seeing like zombie Batman, zombie Superman.
But that was the thing.
All of them. Just
Batman
zombied
had
out.
died in the whole like time frame, and Black Hand had Bruce Wayne's skull, Batman's skull, and he would carry it, and the black ooze out of the skull created the rings to go out, and it all came from like Batman's skull out of his mouth. That's where the rings came from. It was amazing.
It was really good.
Really
It was
good.
one of the best like crossover events in the history of comics.
It was my favorite.
It was
like
good.
Flashpoint was fucking phenomenal, and that was one of my favorite DC story arcs. But I think Blackest Night's my favorite.
It was Jeff Johns' greatest hit.
Amazing.
That's his biggest hit he ever did. Was that?
I'm still waiting on an animated title of Blackest Night. Mentioning Black brings us into our fourth track of the night, which is This Cold Night and their song Black Cathedral.
Holding out for something more, it's sanctuary I'm searching for. As the lights at the city's edge pass fields of forgottenness, a church lies obscured in fog, black as obsidian. Let me in your doors, give me a future. Black cathedral, black cathedral, black cathedral. Grant me sanctuary, cathedral, black cathedral, black cathedral. Grant me sanctuary. Hunted by my shadow, running from regret. I cannot sleep, I cannot wake, I cannot take it. The doors stand cold, barred and dispassionate. Oh, cruel fate, give me a future. Grant me sanctuary.
Now it's time to talk about comic book characters dealing with night. We mentioned Night Thrasher in the previous episode, who was
Skateboarder, right?
Yes, he's a skateboarding ripoff of Nightwing. There was
Batons and everything.
There was also Nighthawk, which was Marvel's version of Batman from Squadron Supreme. Squadron Supreme being a version of the Justice League.
Yep.
So Nighthawk was the...
And there was like a couple of different versions. Like originally he had like a really big cape, a giant like eagle on his chest or something. But then they fine-tuned it and he looked more like actually Batman.
And
he
then
was darker.
And then he was a black Batman.
Yeah.
He wasn't black originally, but then they made him black.
Made it, yeah.
Nightcrawler is one of the greatest mutants of all time.
I agree. Advita Zane.
Advita Zane.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course then there's Werewolf by Night. Do you know what Werewolf by Night's real name is? Jack Russell.
Jack Russell.
Not to be confused with the dog.
After that, we have Nightshade from Marvel. Speaking of werewolves, Nightshade was an African-American Queen of the Werewolves character that was featured in Power Man.
Oh.
And she was featured like with the other characters, a lot of the horror series. And then there was a Nightshade from DC as well, which was a Captain Atom character. And then, of course, Night Nurse.
Yes, Night Nurse. She's the one that would patch up the heroes when they got injured and stuff.
Fucking Rosario Dawson.
I know. But Night Nurse originally came out in the 70s.
Exactly.
She was a character from the 70s.
Yeah.
But the fact that
they brought her into the Daredevil series.
So good.
Amazing.
And played by Rosario Dawson. Excellent.
And then we have Night Girl. And Night Girl was member of the Legion of Super Rejects.
Oh.
She had superhuman strength, but only at night. And then we had Night Side. Speaking of Legion of Superheroes, there was the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, which is Marvel's answer to Legion of Superheroes. And all the characters basically were like homages or rip-offs of that. So Night Side was like Shadow Lass. Basically, she had the same power as Shadow Lass. We had Night Bitch from Kick-Ass, who was actually in the movie Kick-Ass 2.
Yep.
With she was part of the Justice Crew, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
When Jim Carrey's character and like the other characters. And after that, we had La Nuit from X-Force, which translates to the Night, who is kind of like, he could control like night, like Shadow Lass and stuff like that. And then there was Gazing Nightshade, which was this really obscure X-Men character. And then we have Night Viper.
Night Viper is
from G.I. Joe.
He's probably one of the best like Cobra Trooper figures.
Very cool.
He's very cool looking. He has an excellent color scheme. He's got cool gear.
Yeah, what was his weapon?
He came with like this really cool like tactical shotgun, and it had like a strap so you could put it over his arm.
Amazing.
And he had like this scope thing that went like like night vision goggle.
Yeah.
Thing. It was
super cool.
Super cool figure. One of the best.
What about G.I. Joe toys? What about Masters of the Universe toys?
There is an evil horse that's a robot, a mechanical horse named
Black and Gold.
A black and gold mechanical horse named Night Stalker.
And then what about video games? We have Night Wolf from Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
He was like a Native American that can call forth a lightning axe. Speaking of the best, we say the best for the end. This is the OG Godfathers of Witch House, Salem with King Knight. We'll say our goodbyes. Thank you so much for listening, watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you missed your favorite night-related nerd culture reference. Thank you so much, Phat Collectables, for, again, letting us shoot here. Thanks again to Squelch, aka Explode, for doing our logo. Good night. This is Salem with King Knight. I love you.
what we didn't talk about? It's okay.
What?
There's too many comics with black. You're right.
What is it? No, night, not black.
Oh.
There'll be another episode will be black.
Yeah.
We'll say that for the black episode.
The black episode.
Yeah.